I mean, I'm only cutting your heads. Cut you. You're boring me. I'm cutting your head. I'm cutting your head.
What are you doing?
They probably didn't realize it at the time, but that Kids in the Hall skit would become a classic of Canadian comedy. Just one of the bizarre characters invented by a comedy troupe many considered ahead of their time. It's been more than 30 years since Kids in the Hall burst onto the scene. They have changed a lot since then, but in some ways, they're still exactly the same. I sat down with them as they were filming their brand new comedy series.
I think we're ready to start the show! And let the slaughter begin!
Let's get something going.
Unexpected moments and quirky characters. That was classic Kids.
What are you?
God, you're not too bright! I'm a chicken lady!
30 years later, lots of comics praise Kids in the Hall as groundbreaking, iconic, and influential.
I can make the word Canadian sound sexy.
After a successful run on CBC and HBO in the 90s, the Kids eventually went their separate ways.
Let's meet back here in an hour with some ideas.
Including Dave Foley on the 90s sitcom News Radio, and more recently Mark McKinney on Superstore.
Have a heavenly day.
Now all 5 kids are back on Amazon Prime Video.
Guys, I knew we should have cryogenically frozen our bodies.
Or even just our faces. Or even just your hair.
The new series features lots of new sketches, and yeah, some of their classic characters are back.
Back off, pigs, or the tower gets crashed.
And action.
We were given exclusive access during a day of filming in Toronto for the Kids in the Hall reboot.
I'm your friendly neighborhood DJ, Mike Motormouth Mulcahy, on KROC, the Crocodile.
Once the sketches wrapped, our cameras started rolling, and we sat down to talk. As you'll see, it was a freewheeling interview. The kids have been quite open about how much conflict there was behind the scenes of their original series. So to start, I asked them, all these years later, what's it like to be back together?
With the exception of the lawsuits, no. This is actually the joy of my career now. That it's full circle. That we get to come and do this.
Reporters is the joy of your career?
Yes, that's my greatest. It's really been a blast. You know, we've stayed together doing tours since we're off the air. But there's nothing like doing this, and we're really happy to be doing it.
And are you guys getting along?
Yeah,
like we always do.
Part, yeah.
What's our agreed on response?
Less fighting than usual.
Yeah. It's like the best it's ever been.
Maybe, which is a bad sign.
It's hard to fight and argue when you're older.
But people mellow sometimes when they get older, or sometimes they become more ornery, an old-fashioned word that's only associated with older people. Which way are you guys going?
I think nicer.
Definitely nicer.
Yeah. We're pleasantly ornery. I think that's it. Yeah.
I'm not even ornery. I still think we're ornery between action and cut.
Yes.
Right?
I know what he means. We still have the edge.
Yeah, Scott took your word ornery and substituted vital.
Yeah.
And fiery.
Yeah. He wanted to say that he was
tiger.
Amazing. So, there'll be an argument about that later.
What else has changed over the years, besides your demeanor?
And waist sizes?
But do you feel that your sense of humor, or what makes you mad, or what you find funny has changed? I feel like your answer would be an emphatic yes to that.
That's a very good question. No one wants to know that I'm gay. And even less people want to know that I'm Canadian.
Of course, a lot has changed since the 90s. There's virtually nothing from a Buddy Cole skit satirizing racial stereotypes that we felt we could play now.
It reminds me of something that Yoko Ono once said to Malcolm X.
When I look at that clip, which we laughed at the time, as you say, we played it at the CBC, I'm thinking there's no way that could air right now, right? Has that been a bit of a challenge to try to figure out what you're even, quote unquote, allowed to do now?
Well, no, because we keep being told what we're not allowed to do. Yeah. But I think I hope there's going to come a correction where we stop siloing all of humanity into very narrow categories and actually start to be able to interact with each other again and talk to each other and share
points of view about a multitude of subjects.
So how do you figure that out? How do you gauge what you like? I feel like when you guys were much younger, you just went with your instincts, and especially in Canada, maybe you had a little bit more latitude.
Yeah, but then again, like when we were censored in those days, it was usually coming from the political right, and like the Christian right mostly would be the people that would be angry at us, and and now it's just now most of the censorship is coming from the political left.
And it's coming via social media, not necessarily network executives, but people.
Oh no, that too.
But they're all all the networks, and everyone's terrified of Twitter.
But Ian, also there is the extreme where there are things that you can't do and shouldn't do now. But I also do like that the center of society now, that compassion for things is a really important thing. And for me, in the little journey I've had in my life, I like that. I like to think about the effect that what you're saying or doing may have on people, because we never did before. And so I like that responsibility now.
Well, now we're at the point where we've evolved into sort of where we judge our stuff a little bit more, while trying to maintain the kind of lack of self-consciousness that you need for creativity. Mm-hmm. But we definitely matured, and I completely agree with Bruce. You want to be a more compassionate.
Yeah. And I have an 18-year-old daughter who tells me daily what we can't do.
Now, I thought you were going to talk more in this segment of the interview than you have. Are you holding yourself back?
I'm just here to be pretty.
And isn't he succeeding in that?
Yeah.
Is Buddy Cole part of the reboot?
As I said, I'm just here to be pretty.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
And by the way,
I'm just saying,
go ahead.
I wish that this compassion that everybody speaks about could be extended to people like me. And that's about all I'm going to say.
But I will say, Buddy Cole is the most important character I think we've ever done. And when I saw his one-man show, that's when I wanted to do the reboot, because it was so brilliant.
And I still get messages on Twitter and all over the place from kids who say that seeing Buddy on CBC actually saved their lives.
And in my workshops, I heard that every workshop.
I saw one yesterday, and it was a young woman who said, "I grew up in a violent, disturbed household, and Buddy Cole showed me the door." That's its effect in 1993.
But to be clear, what I was referring to is on the skit about, or the sketch about race.
Oh, I know.
Is just the words and the concepts that at the time we just took as what seemed obvious to many of us, which was satire, right? It was a belief that people had out there, and the fact that you could say it out loud on TV was pleasantly shocking enough, and that your character could turn it upside down was even better. But I kind of feel, I may be wrong, but I feel like in 2021, if that sketch just landed on the air, I
wouldn't be in this interview.
Yeah, people would just be tweeting out certain words out of context.
Well, I'm just going to say, I do think we are in a satire-deficient era.
Yeah.
And I find that troubling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to me that I look so good.
Can I say we're living in a context embargo?
That's actually so
good phrase.
Dave said that he thought it was a good line.
He took the idea I was trying to work at.
It is a great line. I mean, you actually do really seem to be enjoying being together, and you seem to be getting along together.
That isn't that
weird?
Such an understatement.
Well, and it's also this: when we were young men, we didn't know who we were in the world, and so we were very competitive with each other. And now, as our lives have evolved, we realize it's only each other, and there's no competition anymore, because look at us.
It's true. It was in our 20s. It was, I gotta get that scene in the show, and now your scene's been cut. Oh, good, I have a day off.
But this is like the world's coolest high school reunion, except it's lasting for a few weeks, and you guys are super creative, and you get to hang out, and you don't have to swagger or it's just a different kind of vibe. But it's going to come to an end.
No, it won't. The only way it'll come to an end is a tombstone.
Yes.
And we will never stop.
Yeah.
We are the blues musicians that we all loved growing up.
Yeah.
John Lee Hooker, he played to his 80s, right?
Until they make us stop.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't been around all the time, but we've always
we keep
never
coming
stop.
back together at least every few years. And I think doing this will probably spur us to go out
like
on
if
the
we
road
were a
again.
couple, I think we'd probably renew our vows.
And I think one thing that's always been true of us, no matter even at the times when we were most fractious and fighting, and there would always be the moment when we actually got in front of each other to perform, that all of that would go away. Even going back to the Rivoli shows, we'd fight all through the week getting the material together, and then the show night, everyone would fall in love with each other, and we'd all just, by the end of the night, everyone just, loved the troupe.
But this is amazing because it's both seem to be working, like, you know what I mean? Like we're enjoying each other in a way that we haven't.
And it doesn't feel like a nostalgia.
No, it doesn't at all.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it is a bit unreal to be sitting here seeing all 5 of you, and you've done such great work for so long, and it's just fun watching how well you guys are getting along together. And so thank you very much.
Thank you
so much.
And hopefully this will stop you and Adrian from fighting on air so much.
Yeah, come on. We don't need to see that.
We will help bankroll the 3 other editors that are going to have to edit this.
It's the sound editor who's going to kill himself.
This is not airing anywhere.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Just one editor, Richard Grundy, who did a really nice job on that, though I noticed he left that last section in, which was kind of a shout out to him. The other thing is like a really interesting conversation. I hope you thought about the state of comedy now, and we'll be posting it online later, so feel free to share it. We now know the new act.